welcome back to Learn Native English. I'm Sarah, and today we're diving into a small but crucial aspect of English grammar. Dr. Smith, why are these tiny words so significant?
Hi, great to be here. These words, though small, can drastically change a sentence's meaning. For instance, a little implies a positive amount, while little suggests scarcity.
Right, and they often trip up learners. Could you give us an example with an uncountable noun?
Certainly. Take water. Saying I have a little water means you have enough for a need, whereas I have little water indicates a shortage, possibly not enough to drink.
Interesting. So, it's like having a little is a relief, but little is a concern. Why do you think learners find this confusing?
Well, English leans heavily on context. Many learners instinctively assume smaller words are interchangeable, but here each word shifts the nuance completely.
That makes sense. Now, have there been any studies on language acquisition that highlight these nuances?
Yes, a 2022 study showed that learners who focus on contextual exercises improve their comprehension by 30%. It's about seeing these words in everyday situations.
Fascinating. So, looking forward, how can learners effectively master this aspect of grammar?
Practice through storytelling and self-reflection. Create scenarios where these differences matter. It bolsters understanding and retention. And remember, practice makes perfect.
All right, moving on to a few versus few. Dr. Smith, how do these differ from a little and little?
Great question. A few and few apply to countable nouns. A few suggests a satisfactory number, while few implies insufficiency.
Could you illustrate this with a real-life example?
Of course, imagine saying I have a few books. It sounds like you have enough to read, but I have few books might mean you're short on reading material.
Ah, so a few is reassuring and few is somewhat lacking. How do students typically get this wrong?
Learners often overlook context cues. They might say few when they mean a few, unintentionally conveying a negative tone.
Exactly. Are there any strategies to help learners avoid this pitfall?
Engage in conversations with native speakers. Real dialogues reinforce understanding of context. A language exchange program can be particularly beneficial.
That's a practical approach. So, what do you foresee for learners mastering these distinctions in the future?
With increased exposure to authentic language use, learners will naturally internalize these differences. Technology, like AI language apps, will also play a crucial role.
Let's talk about context. Why is it so vital in understanding these nuances, Dr. Smith?
Context is everything in language. It frames how words are interpreted. For example, a little in a positive context versus little in a desperate situation.
So, context shapes meaning. Can you share an anecdote illustrating this?
Sure, a student once used little in a job interview, saying, I have little experience. It sounded negative, but a little experience could have been seen as positive initiative.
Wow, that really highlights the power of word choice. Are there any counter-arguments to relying heavily on context?
Some argue that overemphasis on context can confuse learners initially. However, most linguists agree that context is key to fluency.
Interesting point. How should learners balance context and vocabulary study?
Combine both. Use vocabulary in context-rich environments. For future learning, immersive experiences like watching films or reading books can be invaluable.
Great advice. So, as we move forward, how can technology assist in teaching context?
AI and language apps is evolving to provide context-based corrections and scenarios, helping learners adapt faster and more efficiently.
Now, let's delve into common mistakes. Dr. Smith, what errors do English learners frequently make with a little and a few?
A typical mistake is using a little with countable nouns, like saying a little apples instead of a few apples. It's all about matching the right quantifier.
Ah, I see. So it's crucial to pair them correctly. Do you have a memorable story about such a mix-up?
Definitely. A student once said, "I need little advices." It was meant to seek help but sounded like dismissal. Switching to a little advice would have been more welcoming.
That's a perfect example. Are there arguments against focusing too much on these details?
Some argue it stifles creativity in language use, but mastering these basics can actually empower more creative expression.
Good point. What strategies can learners use to avoid these pitfalls in the future?
Practice makes perfect. Regularly engage in grammar exercises and seek feedback. Also, keep a language journal to track progress.
Sounds effective. Looking ahead, how can learners continuously improve their precision in language use?
Stay curious and open to learning. Engage with diverse content, and over time, these nuances will become second nature.
Let's explore interactive learning methods. Dr. Smith, how can learners practice a little and a few in engaging ways?
Interactive exercises are excellent. For example, role-playing scenarios where learners decide the correct usage based on context.
That sounds fun. Can you share an anecdote where this method was particularly effective?
Sure. In a classroom, students once acted out a shopping trip. They had to use a few and a little correctly to buy items. It was both educational and entertaining.
I bet they enjoyed that. Are there counter-arguments to using such interactive methods?
Some educators feel it might distract from grammar rules. Yet, the engagement often aids retention better than traditional methods.
Engagement is key. So, how can technology enhance these interactive experiences?
Virtual reality and language apps offer immersive environments. They simulate real-life situations, providing practical usage scenarios for learners.
That's cutting edge. How do you see interactive learning evolving in the future?
I foresee a blend of AI and gamification, making language learning more personalized, adaptive, and enjoyable for everyone.
As we wrap up, Dr. Smith, could you summarize how mastering these small words impacts overall English fluency?
Certainly, mastering nuances like a little and a few enhances clarity and precision. It transforms basic communication into nuanced expression.
That's insightful. Do you have a personal story about a learner who excelled by mastering these nuances?
Yes, a student once struggled with nuances, but after focused practice, they delivered a flawless presentation, impressively using a few and a little perfectly.
What a transformation! Some might argue focusing on nuances is unnecessary. What's your take on this?
While basic communication is possible without them, nuances enrich interactions and comprehension, especially in professional settings.
Agreed. So, what advice can you give learners aiming to improve their fluency moving forward?
Stay persistent and curious. Engage with varied English content and don't shy away from making mistakes. They're stepping stones to mastery.
Great advice. And finally, how do you envision the future of English language learning?
With technology's aid, learning will become more accessible and tailored, helping learners worldwide achieve fluency with ease.
All right, that's all for this episode. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Bye bye.